Reading of the Introduction of Self by Joe Charogoff. Section 4. Introduction. What's in an introduction, and why does it matter? Do you ever even think about why you introduce yourself? What is there to gain? What is there to lose? What if a good introduction is something you didn't realize? Would you change? In short, the answer to what an introduction is relevant information. A good introduction, whether it is in person or on paper, should convey what matters to the parties involved. We often consider a good introduction to be polite, funny, or enjoyable. We often think of a good introduction in relation to what feels and/or seems good. We respond to laughter, smiles, charisma, and joy. But what do those things really tell us? If you introduce yourself to a stranger politely and with a big smile, it tells them nothing about what is actually going on in your head. You can be as joyful and charismatic as you wish, but if all you tell them is your name and what you do for work, it is all they can have reason to believe without completely assuming the rest. A good introduction isn't relative to what you do socially unless you are trying to sell something and the other person is trying to buy it. If you do not care about the other person and only want to satisfy a small part of your existence, then smiles and charisma, even lies, can do the trick. But that isn't what I'm calling a good introduction. I consider any good introduction to be one that includes and focuses on the clear communication of pertinent knowledge. What really matters when introducing yourself and/or considering an introduction from someone else is what is wanted. If you introduce yourself, the other party should understand what you want from them, or even possibly involving them. If someone introduces themselves, you should know what they want from you, or even possibly involving you. This isn't as absurd as it may sound. It is actually the real way to benefit from an introduction. This concept of sharing what we want, particularly in an introduction, may seem very odd since it goes against what we are used to. However, a lot of what we are used to is just plain unproductive and irrelevant to much of our humanity and reality around us. Also, many times we meet people and don't believe to want anything in regards to them. When your significant other introduces you to their old friend, you may not actually want anything to do with them. Maybe you smile and act nice, but don't actually care about them. So, of course, you wouldn't share what you want with them, right? And why would you care what they want, much less share all this as soon as you meet? What we want defines our connection to ourselves, others, and everything else. This book is riddled with desire. You may as well get acquainted with thinking about it. If you want to make a real connection to the other party, then you'll share what you want and care about what they want. We can't get a grasp for one another if we don't express our desire. We cannot gauge one another or ourselves unless we introduce what we are truly after. This introduction is meant to be that. It is meant to share with you relevant knowledge about my life, but more importantly, what I truly want from you. Understanding what I want will give you true insight into the ideas in this book. It would not be fair or logical for me to disguise or omit my desires, because they do involve you and everyone else. This introduction, the entire book, and everything that I am, come from my desires. Aside from what I want, however, it is also important that you recognize a little about my individual voice and this book, because it is what I am using to share it. Well, you can probably tell from the prologues and the fact that there are prologues that this book seems a little unique. It clearly doesn't follow standard protocol. Not all of the rules that apply to bookmaking exist or exist properly. This isn't all done on purpose, but not correcting many of them just because it is the standard most certainly is. You will notice a lot of weird things about the following text. There will be a lot of questions. There will be a lot of commas and apostrophes. There will be a lot intermingling of grammatical persons. I will become you. They will become I and or you, and any or all of us may become we, at the drop of a hat. You will read the same words and phrases over and over, and then you'll read them again. The book is riddled with desire, fear, consciousness, perspective, relativity, knowledge, and change. It is redundant and flawed at its core. All of this repetitive and simple writing not only coincides with my intellect, but an honest take on the topic as well. Since this book is about the commonalities of all people, nothing that I write, except for specifics of my life, will only apply to you and or me and or someone else. The reason I bring up the awkwardness of these writings is because they may be off-putting. You may find the text alone to be bothersome, improper, or boring. I assure you that this is not my intent. However, due to the subject matter and who I am, the book is what it is. There are far more instantly gratifying things to write a book about. There are surely far more instantly gratifying things to read. But if you find yourself in this position of disliking the text, remember something very important about reading. You do it for you. And what you do or do not like is not always equivalent to what is good for you. Throughout this introduction and the entire book, I will share a lot about who I am and what I've experienced. It would be highly unfair and unreasonable to expect you to admit, think about, and do something that I don't even try to. I want you to know that I believe in what I write. Many times I go back and realize I was wrong. I don't claim to get everything right. I don't claim to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I am flawed. This book is about those flaws within me. It is about the flaws within you. It is about our ability to overcome and overpower them and why it matters. It is about what has occurred and what could. And it is about the reasons why change occurs or doesn't. I know you may be confused up to this point. I know you might not know exactly where I'm headed or what you're dealing with. But I promise that if you're honest, you'll understand every word and idea perfectly by the time you're done. There is no way for me to confirm it to you, so to believe me takes an amount of faith. But as one human to another, I promise to be as honest as possible anyway. I realize that I'm dealing with all important concepts here. Our humanity isn't something to take lightly or get wrong. The following pages involve what I've truly found regarding my own human experience and an objective analysis of what I see in others. I assure you that if I found something different, I'd let you know. But I am as certain of the similarities between us as I am of my own mentality. Incredibly. I hope that my repeated insinuations that you are like me and vice versa don't turn you off. I hope that you can and will truthfully try and relate my experience to your own. But most of all, I hope that you do the really tough part. I hope you relate your own experiences to you. Everything that we are and everything that we do in a practical sense is understandable. A great deal of it is even alterable. Yes, this book is ultimately about change, whether big or small. It has become a cliché and ironic idea of our culture, but change is the meaningful part of our humanity. It is meaningful to us more than anything else. We all know what it is, and we all know what it entails. Among the many things I'll repeat in this book, one of them is that this book will not change you at all. It can't. If you really want to change, you won't get hung up on change. You'll get hung up on why you never do it. Hopefully this book, these ideas, will help you connect to your own realities. Hopefully you will truthfully try and understand who you are. And hopefully my words aren't meaningless to you. You and I can change. There are distinct reasons why we don't, and there are distinct benefits to doing so. It can feel overwhelming to only look at possible change without seeing the reasons we don't fight for it. So, at least for now, forget about change. Deal with what is really there. Deal with what is a reality now and has been a reality in the past. Take a look at who you are, all of who you are. Share it with yourself. Connect to whatever it is and hone up to it. I'm something too, something unique and something the same. I don't know exactly what it's like for you, but I have an idea. There isn't much to what I am, what I've experienced, and what I've accomplished. I am pretty simple, pretty capable, yet pretty weak as well. I don't know what you'll relate to from understanding who I am. I don't know what you'll see by seeing some of what I am, but I do know that experiencing honest human expression from others can't hurt. My name is Joe, and I am just as human as the rest of us. I truly do hope this means something to you, mainly for you, but it surely means a lot to me.